President Muhammadu Buhari will not withdraw nominated resident electoral commissioners based on media trial. That's according to the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed. The Minister of Education explains government's interventions in the strike by the academic staff union of universities. Welcome everyone to Politics Today. I am Terry Ikumi. Now it's 206 days into the strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU. And there are reports that the federal government may make a U-turn on the no work, no pay controversy. Also, there are indications that the government may be planning to withdraw from future negotiations with university workers' unions. And this is based on the statement by the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, on Tuesday during a meeting with the pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors of federal government-owned universities, where he tasked the individual universities' governing councils to show commitments to ending the industrial dispute plaguing their universities. Well, let's go quickly now to our daily political roundup.
Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, have met with some former presidential aspirants of the party at his Azukoro residence in Abuja. Among those who attended the meeting are Chief Dele Momodu, Mohammed Ayatuddin, Mrs. Tari Oliver, and Chief Charles Ugu. Former Senate Presidents Bukola Saraki, Pius Ayim, and others. Governor Nyesom Wike were absent at the meeting. The PDP presidential candidate, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, commended them for accepting the outcome of the convention that produced him as a flag bearer and urged them to work for the victory of the party in the 2023 general elections.
I also want to commend you for your maturity and sense of nationalism, and also your sense of unity for our great party.
Governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in next year's election have met with Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike in a new attempt to resolve the crisis in the party. 18 of the PDP candidates arrived at the private home of the Rivers State Governor in Port Harcourt for a closed-zone meeting which lasted for hours. Addressing journalists after the meeting, chairman of the PDP Governorship Candidates Forum and governorship candidate in Kaduna State, Issa Ashiru, says they are hopeful that the discussion with Governor Wike, which comes a few days after meeting with the presidential candidate of the party, Atiku Abubakar, will go a long way in resolving the internal crisis.
Issues that borders on what has happened has been sorted out. The issue has been resolved as far as I'm concerned.
Stakeholders of the All Progressive Congress Abdamawa State chapter have endorsed the removal of the chairman of the State Working Committee, Ibrahim Bilal, by members of the State Working Committee. The endorsement is the outcome of a meeting of critical stakeholders of the APC at the party secretariat in Yola, the Adamawa State capital. According to them, they are in support of the vote of no confidence passed on the chairman Ibrahim Bilal and the party treasurer Dr. Raymond Chidama by other members of the State Working Committee.
Our firm conviction that the disciplinary pronouncement made against Alhaji Ibrahim Bilal as the state chairman are legal, lawful, and constitutional.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan today met with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa. The president received briefing from the ECOWAS Special Envoy Dr. Jonathan on Mali crisis at the State House in Abuja. Others who were present at the meeting include the President of ECOWAS Commission, Mr. Omar Ali Otore, and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Jeffrey Onyema. The governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress, ADP in Ebonyi State, Mr. Ken Eze, believes individuals and groups can donate money to support candidates who they believe can deliver good governance. He believes Nigerians should support candidates even with their financial resources in order to enthrone credible people for leadership come 2023.
I think that Nigerians should support the candidates by making donations.
Now to one of our major headlines. Against the backdrops of allegations that President Muhammadu Buhari nominated individuals believed to be card-carrying members of the All Progressives Congress as resident electoral commissioners of INEC, the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, has argued that the president will not withdraw the names based on what he describes as media trial. Describing the trend as worrisome, the information minister noted that it is not the business of the president to discard the names until proven otherwise. He insists that the nominees will have to face the Senate, where they will thoroughly be interrogated before confirmation. President Muhammadu Buhari had in July written to the Senate to confirm 19 nominees as resident electoral commissioners of INEC. 5 resident electoral commissioners were presented for renewal, while the other 14 were fresh appointments. Now, over 6 months into the strike by ASUU, amid accusations and counter-accusations, Nigerians, especially students and their parents, are not entirely sure of how government is intervening, mainly because ASUU has accused the government of being deceitful and not interested in actually ending the strike. My colleague Seun Okinbaloyi is live with an exclusive interview with the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, in his office. Hello, Seun.
Thank you so much, Terry. We're now being joined live right here on the program by the Honorable Minister for Education, Malam Adamu. Thank you so much for joining us on Politics Today on China's television.
Thank you for finally getting me.
Finally, one would say. Perhaps a lot of Nigerians have been wanting to hear from you directly as to these issues that have lingered for over 200 days.
Yes.
You realize that it's worried the mind of a lot of Nigerians. But first and foremost, a lot was said yesterday in relation to your meeting with the vice chancellors and the pro-chancellors and some of the stakeholders. You set up a 14-man committee to look into this. Professor Oluwabafemi, Professor Briggs, and all of that, they were in that committee. But between yesterday and today, what update do you have for us?
First of all, I didn't set up any committee. Of course, there were 14 people who met. That is immediately after my meeting with the pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors were more than 100. And so we went about 14 or 15 of us, and we just sat down talking and reviewing what happened at the meeting. It was not a formal thing. I saw it in the newspapers. All newspapers were saying that Buhari has set up a 14-man committee to find any solution. There was no such thing. Only some people who attended the meeting came down to review what happened.
So there are 14 of them. It's
I think 14
unofficial group of people.
It's unofficial. Yeah, unofficial in the sense that it is not supposed to be a committee. I just decided, okay, we have finished the business of the day. I took one. If you look at the list, if you have the list, you'll find that they are representative of Nigeria. I took one from probably either the zones or at least one in the south or in the north, from pro-chancellors, from vice-chancellors, and then from my staff in the ministry. And we sat down and discussed. We rediscussed what we discussed.
So it was your initiative?
It was mine.
Okay, so, and these 14 people,
yes,
they're supposed to meet, or have they started meeting already, and come up with a report that you will submit to the president? No. Is that true?
They were not supposed to come up with anything. We just discussed, we just reviewed what we discussed at the meeting.
Because what is being reported is that these 14 people are supposed to meet, come up with the idea on the way to move forward, and that report is supposed to be submitted to the president.
Already the president has indicated the way things should move. We met with him, about 4 ministers and some top officials of government. We sat down and he decided this is our position. So there is no need for any committee to find another position.
So what was the position of the president on this matter?
The position has been in the press for all the time.
Can you reiterate it for the sake of our viewers who are watching right now?
There was some increase on salary for university staff, 23.5% across board, and then 35% for professors, and the same for polytechnics and colleges of education. And then there was some money, about 150 billion for rehabilitation, and then billion for earned allowances.
So,
and then there was, of course, the issue of the platform for salary.
IPs.
Which is IPs, UTAS, and U3PS.
Has the president approved for you to use what the university lecturers have put forward?
No, the president is actually waiting now for the committee of the technical, the report of the technical committee that he has set up to look at the 3. I have seen one of the reports, but I haven't seen the final one. And from what I have seen, the U3PS is probably the best, followed by UTES, and then IPPS is at the end.
Who brought the U3PS?
By non-academic staff of universities.
Okay,
the UTES by ASUU.
By ASUU.
And then IPPS, that of government.
Of the government.
But of course, each one will have one or two good points. I don't know what final decision the government is going to make.
But it's looking like there could be an acceptance of the UTAS or the one ASUU is putting forward.
It depends on what the report advises the president and what he takes out of it.
So, can you give us an understanding the disparity, the 25% and the 23.5% and the 35% salary structure or increment that has been approved by president?
Okay, every employee in the higher tertiary institution will get 23% across board.
Across board, every tertiary institution.
Yes.
That is of the owned by the federal government.
Federal government. And then whoever has reached professorial level will get 35. So in polytechnics and colleges of education, those who are chief lecturers will get 35%.
So why the 35% for the professors?
Why not?
What was the reason behind it? Is there an explanation behind it?
Well, the explanation, of course, that is the limit. That is the upper, the limit that everyone is aspiring to. So probably that is why they are distinguished by that one.
Is that a standard practice globally? Does the salary increment, does it meet up with the global standards that the lecturers wanted?
What do you mean by global standards?
Because one of the things that the lecturers are complaining about is that the welfare and the payment of salaries and the fact the earn allowances are not at par with what is obtainable, even in South Africa, not to compare to America or the United Kingdom.
Certainly there are differences between Nigeria and so many countries, just as there are differences between all countries in the world.
But there is an acceptable standard of operating a university, which they complain that Nigeria is far away from those standards.
No, if you say acceptable standard, probably if I take the ones that you say are earning higher in Africa, if I compare them with some elsewhere, they will be much low. So I don't think there's any such acceptable standard, unless you are defining it for me. So I compare Nigeria.
But in your own assessment, this new increment, what standard did you put it? The basis for it?
I think it's just government decision to increase salaries. I think the best idea for salary increase should be to tie it to inflation. And I think for a very long time there has not been any review. The crisis now probably triggered government to start with the university people. But it will be something that probably in the end, when the economy improves, it will be done in all sectors.
So the explanation is also so that there won't be some agitation from other tertiary institutions. If you deal with ASUU, so that other institutions will not come up with their own grievance when the salary increment. So it's across board. But the question is, where are you hoping to get this money from? Is it budgeted in 2023 budget?
Of course.
It's captured.
2023 budget is coming.
I mean, 2022, sorry, apologies.
No, 2023 budget.
Did you capture
it will
the increment?
Be paid starting from January.
So it's not immediate?
No, it's not immediate.
Some of the lecturers who complain that they have been owed salaries, are you paying the backlog?
They have been paid.
As of when?
What time did you ask them? I know.
Maybe like 2 weeks ago.
They are all being paid. Probably you ask those who have not been paid, but it is ongoing. I know it has been a problem, probably because of some mistakes in IPs.
So you'll be using IPs to pay them?
Yes.
But going forward, as soon as the president agrees, I mean, the technical approval is given, then you can go ahead and use whichever platform.
Of course.
That's the situation.
Right, of course. It could be, let's take the best part of these two and improve IPs. It could be, let's take UTES and then put the best parts of the others. I mean, it depends on what comes out in the report. A platform is a platform. It doesn't matter which one is taken.
Have you presented this position of government to ASUU?
Which position?
The position, the increment, and...
I have.
Have they accepted
several occasions.
I'm talking about a recent one.
No, ASUU have not accepted.
Why? What was their reason?
I think probably if you ask them, they'll give...
No, we've been speaking with them. But, I mean, I just wanted to know, what did they tell you? Why, on what basis are they rejecting
No, I think they are
offer?
still consulting. They told me that they must consult their principals and so on. So in the end, probably they will tell us.
When was the last time you spoke with ASUU?
With ASUU? I've been speaking with ASUU almost every day.
So you spoke with them today?
Well, I spoke unofficially with some of them today, but I spoke to them officially last week.
Because the reason I'm asking this question is the meeting you had with the pro-chancellors.
Yes.
There must be some takeaways from that meeting, which also you needed to communicate with ASUU, or were they represented in that meeting?
No, only pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors, and then, of course, staff of the Ministry of Education. The reason for the meeting is to inform them, because we thought things are happening over their head. So we called them and told them this is what we have been doing, and this is the place we are. So I think it doesn't concern us at all. This is something, information given to people who should know.
So at the moment, where we are, the update is that ASUU has not accepted federal government's offer.
Not yet. I just hope they will do so within the shortest possible time. The
unofficial conversation with ASUU, does it look like they might call off this strike anytime soon?
They may call. That one probably is left for them to tell you.
Now, let's look at what you are putting forward.
Yes.
Government, other than that of the Buhari-led administration, agreed with ASUU.
Yes.
But it does look like that agreement was not sustainable. And that's where we got to this point we are at right now.
Yes.
The solution the Buhari-led administration is putting forward, is it sustainable?
It is.
How do you sustain it?
Well, we give, if they accepted it, that's all. It's a one-off thing. It's not like that of Jonathan. I do believe, with due respect to that government, even when it signed that agreement, I don't think it had the intention of fulfilling it, because the money was just not there.
Did you think, or do you imagine that government in trouble with ASUU?
No, I don't think so. Well, I don't know. But I don't think any government, like this government now, are trying to solve all the problems before the next government takes over. I don't think any governments are responsible in Nigeria. I don't think they will try to bequeath something that will be troublesome to a succeeding government.
Some of your colleagues in government have complained that there is the wherewithal to do anything extra, considering how the percentage of borrowing that you need to use in servicing the 2022 budget is enormous. Trillions of naira that you're borrowing to service the 2022 budget. And that's the reason why I ask about the sustainability of the agreement you had with ASUU. Does the government have the money to be able to sustain this? The government has said, we do not have money.
No, the agreement we reached, or the position of government that I offered the unions, is something that government could pay them immediately. They say they agree. The nature is not the same as that of Jonathan, who promised that he will pay them 1.3 trillion over 6 years. Our agreement was not like that.
So what's the difference?
The difference is, here is a package. If they take it, then it is already over.
So it's a one-time package?
Yes.
So make sense of this for us. When you say it's a one-time package, they receive this, and that's all?
If they receive it, yes. I mean, Jonathan said he's going to give 1.3 trillion over 6 years. That's also an offer. He could have said over 2 years, or he could have said, here it is, take it, and the solution is gone.
From your own study of the lingering strike, what do you think made this strike action linger for this long? It's over 200 days.
Yes, I think that one, as Minister of Education, who has been trying day in, day out to put an end to it, I'm not the right person to answer this question. Probably those who are on strike are the right people to tell you why they allowed it to linger.
But you are the minister in charge.
I'm the minister in charge.
They feel that you are federal government,
yes,
as far as they're concerned. So if they are demanding of the federal government, and that's the reason why they have had this.
That's what I'm telling you. The federal government has made their offer, and this offer is what I believe the government can take or can fulfill, and we have done it.
This offer is just a few days ago.
No, it's not a few days ago.
Has this offer always been there?
Since we started the negotiation, yes. Look, most people make the mistake of thinking that it is only when you hear the news of a strike that work is going on. We have a renegotiation committee that has been working every day since I became minister, I think since 2017.
Honorable Minister, there is a bit of politics that will be put into this, and let's leave politics out of this, and let's look at this matter carefully. Think for a moment, Minister, about the children, the parents, the students that have been involved or their lives have been stalled by this strike action. Do you think it's caused them a lot of damage?
No, I don't understand what you mean.
You don't think that those
No,
students...
I don't understand your question.
I'm saying that as a parent,
yes,
you are a parent.
Yes, I am.
And you imagine that if your word or your child is being at home for over 200 days,
yes,
don't you think that's a huge damage?
It is.
Do you empathize with the parents and the students?
Certainly, I do. Even if it is not in Nigeria, I think something happening to a child or to a student like this will get my empathy.
Do you feel bad about it?
I feel very bad, and that is why the government is making the offer in order to end it.
Do you feel that government has disappointed its people?
What do you mean by government has...
You think about the reputation that this has cost Nigeria, the fact that federal public universities are being shut for over 200 days.
And you think it is the fault of the government alone?
Whose fault is it?
Well, I'm asking you.
No, I mean, I don't know. You know more than I do, Honorable Minister.
But I believe it is not the fault of the government, because the unions went on strike, and then government made an offer to them, and they have been calling it off.
So the question is, why did government, because government is supposed to meet their demands.
Yes.
The negotiation has lasted for over 200 days.
Yes.
And the impact is that students are being at home, and the university institutions are being shut.
Yes.
You don't think that that's the fault of government?
No, it's not the fault of government, because government has already made an offer. So if I am the minister and I know the offer that government made is probably the best that it can make, you can't do better than your best.
You don't think that Nigerians are disappointed by this?
I don't know
by the situation.
If Nigerians are disappointed, I think they don't have very good reason to be disappointed with government on this issue.
Explain to us why the citizenry should not blame government for this.
Why should they? Just tell me, in your own opinion, how is it the fault of government and not that of the union?
Let me put this analogy on the table, Honorable Minister.
Yes.
If you cannot put food on the table for your children,
yes,
whose fault is it? Could it be the fault of your children that you cannot provide food for your children?
Well, it depends. You have to give me the complete context.
And so in this context, that's why I drew this analogy, that if the people that the government swore to serve
yes,
have their children at home for over 200 days,
yes,
and we know the importance of education,
yes,
whose fault is this?
It is
the parent is the parent. I mean, the federal government is the parent of the nation.
You can only blame the federal government if the federal government refuses to do what it is supposed to do, make the offer to satisfy their demands. There is no demand that can be met 100% by any government.
In the eyes of the world,
yes,
what kind of reputation do you think Nigeria's education has?
My honest opinion is that the education system in Nigeria is probably, on a scale of 1 to 10, probably I will put Nigeria 7.
So that's excellent. Well, on a scale of 1 to 10,
yes,
if you give
7.
So let's look at it. Nigeria loses a minimum of 1 trillion naira to education tourism, with about 75,000 Nigerians currently studying in Ghana, Benin Republic, and Egypt.
Yes.
Does that look like a good reputation?
It is not a bad reputation in the sense that people going out to study is not a bad thing. The only thing that you should say is probably our own universities should try to attract students so that instead of money going out, money will come in. And then, you know, the internationalization of schools, students there, we get foreign students, we get foreign lecturers, and so on. I don't think it is a very bad thing.
So because one of the reasons the federal government's balance of payments report showed is that Nigerian parents and guardians paid about 28.65 billion for the awards to study abroad from the period of 1998 and 2018. And that's the highest cost of these services has drastically increased the demand for foreign exchange in the country, which has put a strain on the value of the naira to the dollar. It added the factors that are also greatly contributed to the weakening of the Nigerian naira. And this is the reason why I'm asking the question. It's good to study abroad if you find alternative. But the real reasons why people are getting away out of the country, even to nearby Benin Republic, is because of the state of education and the uncertainty in the system, making them pay for the monies they do not have.
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, it is not bad to go out and study. Let me just give you an example of why it is good. I remember in 1979, when China wanted to modernize and industrialize, about 100,000 students at one time were sent out. Another 100,000 sent out. About probably, I can't remember the figure, but it was so high. So going out to study can never be a problem for any nation.
Nigerians have been studying abroad for a long time.
Yes.
But one of the major reasons is because of the bad state of education in this country. Are you proud of the state of education in this country?
No, I think it can be better.
You don't think it's a failure at the moment?
No, certainly it is not a failure.
Honorable Minister, let me advance your mind to the rating of Nigeria's university. In the best 5 universities in 2011, 5 were private universities, while 3 in 2012 were also private universities. And it is said that out of the 20 top universities in 2011 and 2012 rankings world-class university by the Times Higher Education Ranking Parameters, there is a low ranking of public universities. And out of the most private universities, faith-based universities have about over 50% of them. So a lot of people will attribute that if not because of these private universities and faith-based institutions, there would have been a problem in our education system.
No, there wouldn't have been. Let me tell you, I'm very proud of the private universities in Nigeria and what they are doing. But they are just about 2% of the entire student population.
But it's helping a lot, isn't it?
What is it?
It's helping a lot, isn't it?
It is. What it is. Even if it is one student, one Nigerian student who is excellent, it's very good for us. But I'm just telling you to put things in perspective.
But you know the ranking of Nigerian universities on the African continent. Let's not even go global now.
No, tell me, what do you mean?
Some of Nigerian universities rank even below 10. They don't even rank in the first 10 on the continent of Africa.
So?
Some of the best universities in Nigeria don't rank in the first 10.
No, but I know
and
that
Nigeria is the giant of Africa.
Nigerian universities that rank among the world, one of the rankings, I think, put Ibadan, I think Unilag and others very high. So I think there are difficulties, no doubt, and some of them could be economic, which Nigeria and other countries are experiencing. There are difficulties that are surmountable.
What do you think can be done to fix Nigeria's education, especially the tertiary education?
Tertiary education, there are many factors. First of all, I think the best that we can do is we will not privatize them, but probably we will have to do a lot of sourcing funding. And even in this meeting that we had with the pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors, I think we talked about funding. There is certainly a need for Nigeria to look at ways in which it can fund its educational system, probably with the cooperation of the private sector and then public sector. And as you said, there are some faith-based institutions that are now coming on. Certainly, we need to fund education, and that is the biggest problem at the moment facing it. And I do believe, of course, you know, when you talk of funding, you must talk about corruption. Corruption is a very big issue in Nigeria, as it is elsewhere. But
in what area of education, running of education, have you identified corruption?
I think corruption is endemic in life in Nigeria, not just education.
But I mean, you've identified corruption as one of the reasons why our education...
Corruption is a problem in the Nigerian economy, just as it is in all economies in the world, but it is very, very high in Nigeria.
You've heard about some of the allegations about the utilization of the TED fund on some of the infrastructure, and perhaps...
Allegations?
In the utilization of the funds to some of the universities, of the fund, the TED fund and some other
funding.
They shouldn't
be utilized? You mean they shouldn't be utilized?
Allegations of corruption in the utilization of TED fund.
Well, I haven't heard them.
Okay, we need to take a break, Honorable Minister.
Yes, please.
I would like to ask you when we return from this break, your stand on the no work, no pay for these lecturers, whether or not the federal government has changed its mind.
Okay.
But that will be after this break. Stay with me, Honorable Minister.
Thank you.
We'll take a break, everyone. And when we return, the conversation and the closing thoughts of the minister after the break. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. We continue our conversation with the Honorable Minister for Education, Malam Adamu. Thank you so much indeed, Honorable Minister, for your time. The no work, no pay scenario that you have painted to the lecturers, is the federal government rescinding that decision?
No, the federal government is not rescinding that decision. And you know, let me just take it holistically. Greatness in the world is made by sacrifices, and we respect these unionists because of the sacrifices they are making. But there cannot be a sacrifice without some price. Some people, many journalists, I have seen them write about this no work, no pay, and telling the unions in Nigeria that unions elsewhere, they try to save from their check-off in order to support those who are going without salary. And the federal government has taken a position that it will not pay whoever goes on strike.
So they will be losing 7 months of pay?
That is if they call the strike off today.
So in the how would I put it now? In the atmosphere of peace,
yes,
because I know you want peace in the education system.
Yes.
And you are expressing, stretching the hands of fellowship,
yes,
to the university lecturers.
Yes.
You don't think that rethinking that decision will be good news to these lecturers?
It will certainly be
a motivation for them to get back to work.
It will be very good news to them, I'm sure. And as you said, what? For them to go back?
A motivation.
I think it will be.
Do you think that the federal government could rescind?
No, I don't think the government will rescind. And I don't think they'd have to have that as motivation. There are many things that should motivate them to go back. Because now you are talking to me as Minister of Education, telling me why I don't feel empathy for children and so on. You can say the same thing to the people who are on strike. So, I mean, it is something that all of us should get together and solve.
You don't think it is punitive?
What?
The action, the no work, no pay. You don't think it is punitive on the lecturers?
That's what I said. You know, when they said there is anonymity and sacrifice, there is also a price to pay for it, if you believe in what you are standing up for. But I don't think government is going out to punish anybody. And especially since it is something that you already know in advance.
But you know what the lecturers responded? They said the time that the students have lost is gone also. They won't make any sacrifice to allow the student to gain those time lost back.
It's very unfortunate if they say that.
So the student will suffer?
No, it's very unfortunate if a teacher will say that he will not make sacrifice for his students. I think it is something that doesn't sit well with me.
But the federal government is not making the sacrifice for the lecturers.
Federal government, everything I think was put there by the federal government. So if the federal government were a person, I think it has made a lot more sacrifices than you can count.
Now, Honorable Minister, have you thought about how the students can possibly regain the lost time?
They will never regain that lost time. And that is why those who say when they go back they are going to teach, I don't see how they will be able to do it because time has already been lost.
That's sad.
Very, very sad.
Do you have any of your children in the public universities?
Yes.
Do you feel this pain?
Even if without my child in public university, I will feel the pain.
How does the president feel about this situation?
He feels very, very, very badly, I'm telling you.
Does he blame the lecturers for this?
Who? The president?
The president.
I don't know. I will ask you to tell me that, whether he blames the lecturers.
But I mean, in Dora, I mean, his mind may have changed, or his view about this situation may have changed from that in Katsina during the Salah celebration.
Yes.
His body language at that time and his speech does look like he wasn't happy with the stance of the lecturers.
Well, you know, when I think of momentous things, I don't allow my interpretation of body language to make me reach a conclusion.
On the final note, Honorable Minister, what legacy would you say the Buhari government will be bequeathing to Nigeria on its exit from power in education?
In education, I think there are so many things, but let me start with the most important one, and that will answer what you started saying. People are going out of the country because of lack of access. I think probably, I don't have the statistics, but I can hazard the guess that probably there has been no government in the recent past that has made access to university or higher education available to Nigerians like the Buhari administration.
Really?
Believe me. And I believe this is one of its biggest legacies.
Honorable Minister, a lot of Nigerians who are watching you tonight and who are tired about the state of education and the ASUU strike, now that you're speaking to them directly tonight, if you look into that camera, could you make promise to Nigerians and tell them that you will do everything in your power to ensure that this ASUU strike will come to an end?
Fellow Nigerians, I sit here promising you I will do the best that I can to see that the ASUU strike is off. And even without making this pledge to you, my intention is immediately after this interview, I'm going to meet the president of ASUU. And it is not going to be a social visit. It is just in continuation of what we have been doing before. I'm telling you, I do not have the words to tell the nation the weight I feel of this strike on my shoulders. And I will do the best that I can to end it.
Honorable Minister of Education.
Please, let me see, even though has become a cliche in Nigeria, I'm not Honorable Minister of Education. I am Minister of Education. Probably honor is only when you earn it, and it should not be given to you.
Protocol. That is what I'm trying to follow. But thank you indeed, Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, for talking to us on Channel Television.
Thank you very much, Evo.
We appreciate for allowing us to also come into your space.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. Well, Terry, it's back to you for the continuation of Politics Today.
Well, thank you, Sheon. I'm sure that students have watched this and they now understand the government angle of things, and they will look forward to the promise made by the minister, even though I'm sure many people would have hoped that a timeline would have been given. And more importantly, meeting with the ASUU president, it's not the only one that will make the decision. It's the entire union heads that will make, leadership, I beg your pardon, that will make that decision. Let's talk some politics now ahead of the 2023 general elections. The APC presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, today, amid tight security, was at the National Secretariat of the party for a meeting with the National Working Committee of the party. Now, that meeting was held behind closed doors, but it is believed that it is in preparation of commencement of campaigns in about 3 weeks. Now, before journalists were excused from the meeting, the APC presidential flag bearer denied rumors of a rift with the national chairman of the party, Abdullahi Adamu, stating instead that the party is banking on his leadership to lead the party to victory in 2023. Now, beyond that, a documentary detailing the times of the APC presidential candidate Tinubu and as governor of Lagos State and his achievements trying to buy into the hearts of Nigerians ahead of the elections has been airing for a while now, at least 24 hours. Now let's take a look at the candidature of Bola Tinubu and his Lagos achievements controversies. My guest is Mr. Bayo. Onanuga. He's the Director of Media and Publicity of the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council. So Onanuga, welcome to Politics Today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me for this program. First of all, let me just say some apology to your listeners. I think you invited one time like that and I couldn't make it. I want to express my sincere apology for that. I will be busy, so that's why I couldn't make it.
All right, thank you.
I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here today. Your principal is in town. After 3 months of emerging as a presidential candidate, the meeting held behind closed doors. We know that it talked about the rift between Adamu and how there are no intentions to kick him out of office if he becomes president. But beyond that, are you privy to any other information regarding that meeting?
Which of the meetings?
The meeting with the National Working Committee of the party, for which he came into town.
Well, I knew about the meeting yesterday when I visited the APC Secretariat in Wuse. Number one, the APC has remodeled its secretariat. It's looking very quite new, and this meeting was scheduled. It's all part of what the party has been doing across board, trying to strategize for the 2023 election. It's not a big deal. I'm sure today they discussed a lot of things about how to win the election and in terms of material resources and a lot of other issues.
Very well, then. Let's move on now. Let's talk about this documentary that's been trending since it started airing. And the reactions have been pouring in, and there are concerns that that documentary did not speak directly to specific public concerns as to, for example, his educational qualifications, his educational background, or his background as a person just before he became governor. Was it not relevant to address those issues in that documentary?
Well, the documentary is to paint our flag bearer as a transformative leader. And I think to that extent, the documentary achieved a lot. It's to show him, to showcase to the people that here is the man who's asking for a vote next year, February. And these are the things he had done as a governor for 8 years. That he has a record, a very sterling track record. And he did a lot while he was in Lagos. So many things that he is proud of, that those of us who believe in him as a leader are very proud of. That while he was in Lagos, at least he met Lagos as a mess. I was there. I've been in Lagos for the past 50-something years of my life. I mean, as an adult, and I knew how Lagos was in 1999, and how Tinubu came in and changed so many things. And made the state, not just the megapolis of Lagos, the entire state to begin to work all over again. So those are the things the documentary showed, that this man has a track record. And if you contrast him to other people, other contenders for the presidency, you see that he's miles and miles away from them. He's top of the bill. You cannot contrast him, for example, with Atiku, who has never been a governor, whose only record was a VP to President Obasanjo. And you know, for him, his own record is not so sterling. If you ever read Obasanjo's book, what do you call the book now? His memoirs. And in a chapter of that book, he gave a record of Atiku's role in his government. And you know, recently he even said he regretted ever making Atiku his deputy. And if we talk about the other man who has also been going around saying he wants to be president of Nigeria, his record is not so...
Which other man?
No, so I'm talking about Peter Obi. I remember The Guardian in 2015 published a story, a feature story about the capital of Anambra looking like a village. He came in there as a governor for 8 years. He met Oka as a village. He left it as a village. So that's not a good record. And of course, he left a lot of debt for the government of that state. So the documentary, back to the documentary, he tries to showcase Ashwaju Tinubu as a good leader, a leader that has a vision, a leader that at least he tried while he was governor to lay the foundation for the phenomenal growth of Lagos.
All right, let's talk about the records that you say he has with Lagos State now. It's interesting that it's been disputed. As a matter of fact, a chieftain of your party, who was on our show this morning, Sunrise Daily, Tunde Bank Anthony, says that Tinubu cannot lay claims to the achievements of Fashola or Ambode as his.
Don't forget, Tinubu is not, in fact, that documentary did not say Tinubu is claiming everything to himself. The documentary tries to show that Tinubu, while he was governor, laid the foundation. Let me give you an instance. Before Tinubu left office in 2007, he had already done everything to start the BRT, that is the bus rapid transport. He had done it. But what he didn't do, he had imported the buses, he had laid the track and everything, the bus stations, everything was ready. What he did not do was to flag it off. He left it for his successor. So Fashola came in, and people who didn't know what was going on in the state, who didn't have an idea what was going on in the state, Fashola was able to shine because I showed you I left so many things for him, things that he had completed. And in the first 3 months of Fashola, he was just commissioning one project after the other. So to the public, oh, performing governor and everything. And by the way, I'm not saying Fashola did not do his bid. He started so many things. Some of them, he for instance, laid the track, I think the red line or blue line, so he started it.
All that's part of the blueprint.
But you see, the blue line or the red line that Governor Sanwo-Olu is doing now, they were all part of a blueprint of a 7-rail network to cover the entire metropolitan.
You know, this blueprint has been questioned a number of times. In fact, Tunde Bank Anthony says even he doesn't know that there's a blueprint for Lagos. Where is this blueprint? It should be online, according to him.
Let me tell you, Tunde Bank Anthony is like my bureau. It was not part of the government in 1999. In fact, he was involved in a kind of a compromising situation that I showed you how to say, get out of my side. There was something that happened then involving some kind of a financial problem that he was involved in, and Tinubu cut him off. He was part of the campaign, but because of that problem, he was cut off. I don't know whether he's still nursing that grudge against Tinubu.
But you know, that doesn't answer the question of whether or not there's a blueprint that can be accessed. There
is a blueprint. Don't forget, when Tinubu came to office in 1999, or even before he came to office, for the first time in our country, he called in a lot of experts. Those then they populated the transition committees, and they made recommendations. So many recommendations in every facet of development. Say, oh, marketing, this is what you should do, transport, this is what you should do. But even went beyond that. All those recommendations were distilled into a program. And again, calling in some other experts to have a document about how Lagos should grow. And that thing is being followed faithfully. That's why you see some kind of progression in Lagos. Each governor
just to put this to rest once and for all. Anyone watching, and especially following the comments from Tunde Bank Anthony, even though you say he's aggrieved, would want to know.
I didn't say he's a thief.
Aggrieved,
yeah.
I said aggrieved, yes. Anyone listening would want to know, where is this blueprint, these all-important blueprints that Lagos is following?
The blueprint is not a fiction. It exists. It exists. Will Lagos say it's a document?
Will it be made public?
It's a document. Everybody knows that if you get to office, there's something that's on the ground that you follow. It was just like the Jakonde master plan. There was a master plan by Jakonde that he left when he was a governor of the state. And many of the military governments, they followed that master plan.
We're almost out of time, but now that you mentioned Jakonde, following this documentary and the claims by Tinubu, the former Minister of Communication, Major General Tajuddin Olarenwaju, has reacted, and he said that it wasn't Tinubu who opened the Lekki Peninsula, that it was actually Lateef Jakonde. Is that true?
Lateef Jakonde did the road, opened the road, that corridor. Before, if you are coming from Ekpe, you needed to go through Ogun State to come to Lagos. But during the time of Mobala Johnson, a road was built between Korodu and Ekpe. So before, people from Ekpe were passing through Jebode, Shagamu to come to Lagos. But Jakonde came and they said, okay, let's open this corridor. So he started the road And I think it took from that Lekki, from Victoria Island, straight to Ekpe. So he opened the road. But I can tell you, up to 1999, all that part of Lagos was, if somebody told you, I live on that axis, you say, he's living in the bush. But somebody came. You see, let me react to what General Tajuddin said.
Yes.
What he said, General Tajuddin claimed that the site where we have today the Oriental Hotel was not a refuse dump. It was a refuse dump. And you see, there was also something that happened. That land initially was allocated, as he said, to a company. But Lagos State went to court to say that the federal government has no right to claim all the land abutting the waterfront.
We'll have to continue the conversation. Yeah. Interestingly, our time is up. Mr. Bayo Nanuga, the Director of Media and Publicity of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, thank you very much for your time. And that's Politics Today. Thanks to you for tuning in. I'm Terry Kumi. Goodbye.